But interesting enough, we got into the whole top 10, and he put Khabib shockingly low. He put him in his top 10, but on number 7, and he put himself as number 6. And his order went Jones, Demetrius, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, Randy Couture, Henry, Khabib, Cormier, and BJ Penn.
Oh, it's funny. He puts Demetrius at number 2, but yet he dethroned Demetrius.
Yeah. He said on my first podcast the same thing with this pillow. I don't know. He has a lot of love for Demetrius.
I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. How many of these guys were undefeated?
Yeah,
at the top of their game?
Only Jones and Khabib.
Only Jones. Look, listen, in my opinion, this is my humble opinion, Jones is the only one that you can put into this category as far as I'm concerned, because at that point, Jones, number 1, is still undefeated, okay? Number 2, there was a point there where Jones didn't lose a round either. He was going through people.
Yeah.
So at the tail end, yeah, he had close decisions.
So he had the other moments.
Yeah. So for me, it's Jones Khabib or Khabib Jones personally.
Yeah. In most of the world,
my personal opinion, but that's my opinion.
I think most of the world. To be honest with you, I just think Henry doesn't have a pillow head of Khabib yet. That's what I think, and so he just doesn't want to give him credit. So listen, here's the thing. Now, the GOAT status is interesting to me because it's not an official rank; it's a personal opinion. It's tough for me because the situation is this. Khabib is obviously my GOAT. What my definition of GOAT would be someone like Khabib. Could he have been the GOAT had they kept fighting and Jones kept fighting? Maybe not. Maybe Jones passed him up, maybe whatever. But in the realm of like games, it comes out to winning and losing and dominant winning versus barely winning and your record and all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I put him as my GOAT. But that being said, I think my second would be Anderson Silva, shockingly enough. I think John Jones statistically. Okay, so Khabib and Jones, like you said. After John Jones and Khabib, because it's more opinionated, I think the GOAT title. I think that guys like Anderson Silva, the guys that had wow factor and power, like even the Vanderlei Silva of Pride, Shogun Rua for a while. Your Anderson Silva had 17 wins in a row. Nobody had that kind of wow factor in the UFC in my entire career than Anderson Silva. When he was on a 17-fight win streak, 10-fight title defense, that was a wow factor. That kind of adds. Even though and you look at his record, I mean, shit, he's lost 5 of his last 6 fights, and then he just went and beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So there's a lot of variables at stake here.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that look, I mean, Anderson has done enough. What are you going to say? He's done enough to. You can call him the greatest. You can call him the second greatest. You can call him the third. But one thing you can't call him is not one of the greatest.
No,
he's
for
definitely
sure.
one of the greatest.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's in it. John Jones is in it. GSP is in it. To me, I mean, realistically, I mean, I got to be honest. I only really have 4. And the 4 to me is Khabib, Jones, GSP, and Anderson. Those are my 4.
They are, and
those are my only 4. And I'm sorry, I don't really have any more than that where I say, oh, he's the great. Yeah, they are. Don't get me wrong, they're all the great ones. But for me, those are the 4, and you can intermix them any way you want.
And then you got guys that can do incredible things. I mean, you got DC who can do incredible things. You got Conor McGregor who did incredible things, and not only did he do incredible things, you can't deny is the most powerful and the most sport level changing figure in the sport. I mean, Ronda Rousey did a great job, but then Conor McGregor did too. But when you're talking about greatest, it's like it's a different level when you're fighting in there, and you have that special something ability that like you can use to really, really dominate the shit out of people and do it so convincingly that you don't even make a mistake like Khabib in his entire career, hardly. But I agree with what you're saying about John Jones, because what you're basically saying is kind of how I feel about Anderson Silva. In his prime, he was beating good people, wowing, and doing all this great stuff, and then he kind of fell off at the end. And I think what you're saying is John Jones did that as well, but John Jones hasn't fell off at the end yet. So that does put him at a huge advantage.
Yeah. He hasn't fallen off.
He hasn't fallen off, really, technically.
So to me, I'm sorry, but I mean, anybody can give their opinion, but my opinion is you can say Jones, you can say Khabib, you can say whatever one of those two.
Right.
I'm good with either one of those two. I'm good with Jones being the guy. I'm good with Khabib the guy. I'm biased.